Thank you guys for joining. We're going to get started here in just a couple more minutes. I think it's a minute or two before the hour, so we'll get started shortly. Thanks again for joining. Thank you guys for attending the webinar entitled Building Personalized Career Experiences for the Modern Workforce. The webinar is, just so you know, is being recorded. It'll be available for download on our website within the next probably 24 hours or so in our resource center. A couple of house cleaning things. We definitely invite you guys to ask questions throughout the webinar. I'm going to save and answer some of those questions at the end. But you can ask those questions through the question feature within the webinar tools. So let's get started. I'm Tria Foster. I'm the VP of Customer Success for Talent Guard, and I have the pleasure of being your speaker today. Teaching you a little bit about how leading organizations are building personalized career experiences to deal with things like high turnover and really increasing employee engagement. Talent Guard, if you don't know who we are, we're a full service competency-based talent management software company. We're transforming how companies are attracting and developing and retaining the talent that they already know and trust within their organizations. So a little bit about my background, so you know who I am. Before I joined Talent Guard, I was the VP of e-commerce for really one of the fastest growing retail brands in the world, Kendra Scott Jewelry. I was about the 30th person or so hired, and they're just a hyper growth company. And like I said, a truly amazing brand. But we still had some of the issues that are happening within the modern workforce today. I mean, we struggled a bit with employee engagement, and we did have some turnover that we had to address. And before Kendra Scott, I ran customer success for several organizations and managed brands like Lenovo and Under Armour and Coca-Cola, Burton Snowboards. So really had the experience of working with some phenomenal companies. And one of the reasons I joined Talent Guard specifically was because I love the fact that at Talent Guard, we're making a real impact on some of the issues that I experienced working for other companies, and some of the issues that I saw some of the companies that I was working with that they were experiencing. And now at Talent Guard, I have the opportunity to work with and help companies, like Zurich and Blue Cross and Heartland Dental. Helping them drive the engagement and the retention and really increase their employee satisfaction. As a VP of Customer Success, I'm not on the sales side. I'm after sales. And really my team and what I'm focused on is working with our clients, helping them to implement the solution, the right solution, and supporting that solution so that they're really getting the benefits and of what we offer. And I'm excited to be able to speak to you guys today and tell you a little bit about how we're doing this within Talent Guard and how we're doing that with our organizations. So, there's a lot of talk going on out there about engagement and turnover. I'm sure it's happening within your organization. You are having employees ask questions about their career path and what they're doing. They're wanting really more conversations and deeper, meaningful conversations with their managers. And, employees also, they want to be paid fairly for the job that they're doing and the skills that they've developed. As a part of this webinar, we're really going to be focusing mainly around the career development piece and having better conversations and how you do that, and how you move past just your typical base performance review, how you move to something around career pathing. One thing that's interesting is, as I was building out this webinar, we're growing so much at Talent Guard. And so it feels like all I'm doing right now is interviewing. And what I'm seeing firsthand from the people that I'm talking to, one of the questions I always ask is, why are you leaving your current role? And I would say the number one reason that people are telling me they're leaving their current role is because they don't see a career path for them at their company. They don't know what is available to them. They're wanting to grow in their career. They're wanting to grow their skill base, and they just don't have any insight into that. And their companies aren't really giving them that opportunity to grow. So they're looking outside the organization. So I'm seeing this firsthand. And we're hearing a lot from our companies about that career path. They know that they're hearing the words, and what is it? And how do I do it? And, is there a business case for it? So those questions that we're hearing is really why we're here today. It is, how can we engage our employees? How can we build out career paths so that they're not looking outside the company? They're staying within your organization and they have those experiences. So just all of that talk, all of the confusion, I hope that we're going to be able to clear up a lot of that as a part of this conversation. Today, really, the career experience is failing not only our employees, but our organizations, the employers as well. In this, this first chart, you can see that the organizations, they're saying that within the next 3 to 5 years, they really believe internally that there is going to be a capability shortage. That's a big group. When you're talking 75% saying, hey, I think I'm going to have this gap within the next 3 to 5 years, got to figure out how you fix that, right? And employees on the other side, they are happy with their career opportunities when they're within their organization. Similar to what I'm seeing when I'm interviewing people. They're not satisfied. They don't see that capability. And so clearly on both sides of the fence, from the employer's perspective and the employee's perspective, we have a problem that we need to figure out on both sides. And from the career opportunity, the issues associated with it, it's not industry specific. It's not one specific industry. While there are some industries that have a little bit higher turnover, it's not just one industry, and it's not just US based. This is happening across the board. The slide you'll see, the career opportunity is the number1 driver for engagement globally. It's happening in North America. It's happening in Europe, Asia, Latin America, Middle East. It's everywhere, guys. And it's not just, your organization. It's happening to all these organizations. So, let's take a closer look about how we do this in this engagement piece, and what that is. And so how do you increase that so that you're lowering your turnover and you have, quite frankly, happier employees? So at an organizational level or the macro level, careers are, leaving employees really unprepared. There's a lot longer runs and there's a lot steeper rises. And what I mean by that is from the longer runs, employees are staying in their roles a lot longer. They're not having kind of that step up opportunity to go sideways. They're just staying in their role. And then when they do go to that next level, they're going way up. So you may have somebody who is a manager and all of a sudden they become a senior director, and quite frankly, they don't have the skills necessary to do that job. They haven't really been building that. And I'll tell you from my perspective, this happened to me in my own career. Way back when I was a very new manager, I knew I wanted to be at that VP level, or I want to be at that senior director level. And I really wanted to grow. And then I, finally got that big promotion. I was one of those rising leaders and one of those rising stars. And when I got that next job and that senior director job, I'll be frank, I wasn't as prepared as I could have or should have been if my company had really allowed me to understand what the skills were associated with that job so that I could be building those skills along the way and then moving up in the right way would have been much, much better prepared. And I'm sure you guys probably have employees in your company that really are those rising leaders. And so how are you preparing them for that growth of that next career move? You know that they're there, you know that they're excited, and you know that you want to keep them and help move their career forward and keep and retain them. But how are you doing that? What are you doing to truly prepare those employees with the right skills for that role? And then, how do you even know that they're interested in what those roles are? And so we all know this, right? This isn't really new information. And I know everybody, I know the companies I've been working with or I have worked for have been doing a lot of things to kind of fix that problem. I'm sure some of you guys have been doing some of these or all of them. You've probably had career fairs, or you've put together mentorship programs that may have fallen short. You're having HR discussions, or your managers are having some conversations with your employees. How effective are those? That's the question to ask. I'm sure you probably have external job boards or internal job boards, and then you kind of find yourself that you're still going to those external candidates maybe instead of finding the true employees that are within your organization that can fill some of those roles. And you've probably been doing performance reviews. Typically, the performance reviews that we see that our customers are doing have been traditionally based on assessing behavior, not necessarily assessing the skills that are associated with that specific job and how the employee is doing to those skills within that job. So I'm sure you guys have been doing quite a bit, one or all of these things. And if you've been doing all of them, you're definitely ahead of the game. There is no doubt. The question is it working for you? And how are your employees benefiting? If they are seeing those jobs on your internal job board or having conversations, do they even know if they're a right fit for them? Do they have the ability to raise their hand for those jobs? It's that those are kind of some of the questions that you need to be asking yourself. So what do you need to do to accelerate the path for just true talent transformation? Really doing it right. That's the question. So if you've kind of experienced some of this lower engagement and high turnover, then these are some of the steps that we believe will really help you guys engage with your employees. So one of the first things that you need to do as an organization is know the jobs and the skills. Notice how I didn't just say jobs. Jobs and the skills now and in the future. And what that means is truly having a competency-based job role structure. It's really the foundation. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on this because that truly is the foundation and the first thing that really needs to be done. You know, the second is you need to have the ability for individuals, your employees, to assess where they are in their role against that competency, the competencies for their given role. And assess things, not just skills, but also be able to assess things like experiences and qualifications and preferences. You know, allow them to see what that is about their job, and then allow their manager to assess them where they are. It gives a much really richer conversation between your managers and your employees if you have that capability. Third is really just listening to that voice of your employees. And we all know that, right? I mean, we all need to be listening to the voice of our employees, but really giving them a true platform for them to express their career aspirations or their interests, their goals, gain skills, things of that nature. And then next step would be helping them grow those skills. So now you know that they know what their skills are, you know what they're wanting to do, but how do you help them truly gain the skills that will help grow their career? And so by knowing what those skills are, you're able to actually serve up really personalized, curated learning plans that will really guide your employees through growing those skills, closing those gaps of where they are maybe today and where they want for future roles. And then finally, when you have all of those things, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of really rich data here, guys. And at that point, finally, you're able to aggregate all of this and you can really make truly relevant decisions about your specific workforce strategy. So first things first. Step one, knowing the jobs and the skills of the future. So let's kind of jump into this in real form. If you look at these job descriptions that are on the screen, you can see they're actually all very similar, not exactly, but very similar jobs. They're all written very, very differently. And guess what? They're actually all by the same company. So this same company with several different job roles, these are the job descriptions that we're seeing online. The first one, it's, paragraph at the top, kind of bullet points, few skills kind of sprinkled in there, some qualifications. I mean, this is, these are pretty typical. This second one is very, very narrative based, lots of words. It's very just narrative heavy. Kind of hard maybe even for an employee to really even see, do I fit this? What are they really looking for? And the third is kind of that mix. So it has a little bit of both, but it has a lot to do with really the qualifications and the number of years experience, things like that. So apparently each manager probably wrote their own job description here. But as an employee coming in and as an employee that we're hiring or the manager is hiring, how do those individuals really know what are the true skills that are associated with this job? What do I need to be able to do? What skills do I have to have? What does the manager really know and be able to evaluate where employees are based on these skills? And then when it comes to a performance review, let's say you hire that person, are you really able to assess how they're doing based on these job descriptions? It's a lot more difficult, right, to do that. And it's really difficult to build a career path for somebody moving from a manager to a director level based on just these job descriptions, right? It's not actually reflective of that actual job. So what do we need to do about that? Moving from just that kind of narrative-based, everybody's doing it their own way kind of a thing, what really needs to happen is you need to build out a true talent framework. So the actual framework for your organization. And there's a couple of options in doing that. You can totally do this yourself. It's absolutely something that we have clients that are building out that framework themselves. Or you can actually purchase a very industry-specific framework that contains all of the competencies and the roles that actually match your industry. But whether you're building it yourself or you're buying it, there are elements that just really need to be included as a part of that framework. So I started with industry because, I mean, we all need to have the skills and we need to have the competencies and the job roles that are specific to our industry. And then building out that, what are those job families associated with it? Then the roles kind of fit within those families. And then you'll have the competencies or the skills that are associated with a given job role. And you could stop there if you want, but to do it richly and the right way, you're going to be expanding on those competencies or those skills and moving it towards more of a proficiency level. So if you have somebody who is, let's say they're at an associate level, and they are an associate, maybe early on developer even, maybe they're from a communication perspective, you expect them to be at an introductory level or a little bit above from a communications perspective. But if you're hiring a director or VP, you would expect that same communication to be at more of a mastery level. So being able to expand at those skills at that proficiency level is really important. And then to have underneath that, what are the behaviors that are associated with those proficiency levels? So when I'm assessing myself and seeing where I am, I'll understand what you mean by you need to be a master at communication. Well, what does that mean, right? The behaviors that are associated with those proficiency levels need to be there included as well. And then you can also even add in, really be able to serve up, what are the interview questions that you have? What are the managers asking? What are your HR team? What's people asking? What are the interview questions for those specific competencies and skills? Maybe what are the SMART goals or the development opportunities for those skills? You can even start about coaching tips or learning references, learning capabilities based on those specific competencies, not just based on kind of the generic thing out there. And from an employee perspective, when they're trying to figure out what their goals are, they can really understand what are the goals specific to my skills, and being able to serve up the really rich learning opportunities based on that specific skill, or maybe that skill gap is really great for an employee. They're not just going out there looking for different courses they could potentially take online and hope it fits. It's something you've identified in your organization that based on these skills that they should be taking. So this slide is giving you just a bit more detail into what would happen if you actually purchased a talent framework, right? So by purchasing it, you're really having something that is truly represents your industry. There's over 3,000 job profiles. These have been looked at across the everywhere. You can have 4 different frameworks that is kind of like your general frameworks like HR, finance, legal, things like that, or IT, maybe customer service or foundational, but you can also build it into truly, like I said, your industry framework. So if you're in banking and finance, or you're in insurance, or energy, you can have those job profiles, the competencies, the indicators, and the proficiency levels already set for you. It really kind of catapults you. What I find during our implementations is, our customers that have built out these frameworks and actually purchased it, it gives them probably, I'd say 80% of what they need to get started. Yeah, there's going to be something that maybe you can unique to your organization or something specific that you want to add. That's that kind of 20%, or maybe you need to tweak some wording here or there. But having 80% of it done for you, I mean, what I'm finding from my customers is, wow, it's definitely really, really helps them move that whole implementation forward a lot faster. So kind of talked about the competency-based job role structure and what you need there, but I'm sure you're kind of going, okay, that's great, I know I need it, but what does that really have to do with career pathing itself? So, really long gone are those traditional progress, go up the next level, very predictive, very presumptive. So I know that if I come in as a junior developer, I'm moving to a developer, then I'm moving into a senior, then manager. I'm staying in the same kind of job family, right? Up, 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 up. It's just kind of going, again, that kind of rise in career. What we're seeing and what we recommend and really is moving from that career ladder experience, moving to a career lattice experience. So that career ladder is really that traditional hierarchy structure, top down, very linear, very vertical, so I say, career paths. So it's that one step to the next step to the next step on just the job, right? And it's all just about the job. And moving from just that moving up the corporate ladder thing to moving to a corporate lattice, it's a little bit flatter and it gives kind of a more of a matrix structure there. It allows employees to really see all of the career opportunities. Maybe it's the opportunity to move into a different job family. Maybe it's the opportunity to have different kind of experience, things of that nature, so that from a employee perspective, they're really able to see what the organization has in terms of all of the opportunities within that. It gives HR and the recruiting to actually see who is interested in maybe making those moves. Maybe you have someone in one area and they really are interested in kind of moving into kind of a similar role, but a different department. Seeing that and giving them the ability to really move across and up is really what that ladder is more about, and it really builds a more well-rounded employee that has just a lot more depth. So if you let me just kind of give an example here, and I kind of talk to it, but this is kind of what I'm talking about. So you might have something that has the cloud computing, you have a cloud computing job family and the business analytics. You probably would have some very similar-ish roles, a specialist and then a senior person. There's definitely going to be, if you have a total skills framework, right? So these are the skills that are across all of the roles within your organization. You're going to see that there actually are a lot of very shared skills amongst all of these different roles. Yeah, they're going to be probably a little bit different here and there. They might have a slightly different proficiency level, but as an employee, they can truly assess themselves. If you have an employee who is in the cloud group and they're really wanting and they are very interested in the business analytics, they can actually go in, look at all those skills, and hey, guess what? I have a lot of these already today in my job. And then they can see where those gaps are to be able to move to that other, if you think, again, the lattice approach, moving to maybe a different job within a different job family, and then being able to grow their career from there. Really kind of gives that whole ability to do that from a real career path perspective, not just a career ladder perspective. So, from a methodology perspective, we know what needs to happen, right? But, how do you really do it and do it right? Yes, you can do your traditional assessments and things like that. And, employees have been kind of assessed to death. But if you do it right and really do it through technology, you can really show employees truly where they are from a skills perspective. So if you take a look at this slide and you have, Abigail, who is in marketing, you have all the skills that she needs to do to do her job as a marketing manager. But you can see on the storytelling, which is the third one up there from the bottom, there's a little target. So that's where HR and probably your management team has come together and say, this job, these are the skills that really need to happen for this job, and this is the proficiency that somebody needs to be at. And when Abigail goes in and she assesses herself, she can say, this is where I am, and you can see, oh my goodness, a target's here, but I'm here. So what's that telling us, right? That tells us there's a gap in those skills between where Abigail is and where it needs to be. She can easily see that, right? So she can truly understand, this is where I am and this is where I need to be. And what's the beauty about this is, because there's that gap there, you can easily serve up that curated learning and those learning opportunities based on that specific gap, right? So that's where that employee says, I can see it. And now the awesome part about this is, now I know exactly what type of learning and what type of development goals that I have. And then the employee, Abigail's manager, can assess her against these skills. So it's that really shared communication there between that manager and that employee, right? So that they understand where they are. They can have very, really rich conversations about that. And assessment is that one piece. Assessing where you are to that skill, understanding where you are, that's great. And that's a great first step. But the next big step is tying that together and being able to develop a career path that's based on the competencies and the skills associated with your role. So by having that data that the employee can assess themselves and then see and build out career paths that they're interested in. So you could build out those career paths by looking at all of the job roles that you have within your organization, not just the vacancies, right? So a lot of the times we kind of focus on the vacancy approach. Okay, here's a job, let's go look at that. But by the employee actually being able to go in and say, I'm at this level and I really want to go to 3 levels, maybe over and up, then they can see what are those roles that are associated with each one of those, what are the skill gaps associated with those roles. So by the time that job actually does have a vacancy, somebody's ready for it, right? They're ready, they understand, they know what they need to do. You're building that employee out and their skills out, so when that vacancy is there, they're really, really ready to get to that level. They could also share that with their coaches and with their management team and all of those kinds of things. So the next kind of big step with that is, now that they can kind of build out their career path, that building out that career path, there's a couple of things that I really believe are important, and I like how our software does this, is, it exposes all of those career paths to help them truly grow their skills. It will also show them how long it's going to take. So it's very transparent from the employee's perspective to say, if you want to move from this position and you want to move into the director level position, it's going to take you X number of years to do it. And you might want to consider being this step or going into this position and then this position. It can also really show you all the skills they'll gain by doing that. They can even reach out to mentors who have already traversed that path. They've already gone down this path before them. They could reach out, have those conversations with them so they really understand, how did you do it? How did you feel about that? Did you like that role? What is, and really having a really relevant mentor for that person. And it really makes it super transparent for the employee about what kinds of roles that they could consider, maybe things they never even considered before, moving into a different career, kind of a different career path over and then up, not just that traditional, like I said, not just like a traditional ladder up, ladder up, ladder up, really giving them that opportunity to see all these different paths that there'd be opportunities for them, and say, yep, I want to try that. I want to go down this path. And I want to set my goals for me, and my manager can help me set those goals that will help me gain those skills. So when that opportunity is ready, I'm ready for it. And then as they're here and they're within your organization and they're building these skills, they're already looking and they see this career path. They see these career opportunities. They are looking towards the future, 2 to 3 years at staying within your organization and building skills that are available for your organization, not going to look outside outside the organization because they just want the skills, or they want to be able to see what they have from a career opportunity perspective. Right? They have this opportunity to build that out with your organization. You're keeping them. You're getting all those skills and this really now happier employee. And from building out those career paths, they truly can see what are the true gaps, right? What percent fit am I for this role? And it could be a little overwhelming, like go back to that thing, just like, I see all these jobs out here, but do I know if I'm a fit? They can say, you can actually see, you know what, you're about a 32% fit for this role. Shouldn't be that, that should be excited. They can actually see these are the skills that you're going to need. And this company's, we've already given you some learning opportunities so that you are now able to identify those skills and learn and get that training so that you can close that gap. And your manager can actually be, your managers and your employees can be doing that together. They can be setting up true development goals based on truly closing the gaps and truly gaining those skills. I mean, it's just a really nice, rich way of going through your entire career pathing experience for your employees and your managers. And from an organizational perspective, you're gaining skills within your employee base. Remember, I said people are saying that they're going to have a skill gap, 3 to 5 years from now. If you're doing that and you're giving your employees the opportunity to gain new skills in the right way, that those are the skills truly that you need within your organization, you're closing that gap for yourself as well. And you're understanding where your employees want to be, where they're looking to be. So when that vacancy happens, you really are looking internally. So when you're talking to new people coming into your organization, you can really say and mean, we hire and promote from within. We're looking at our employees and their skills and what those gaps are and helping them close those gaps. So by having that competency library, so that standardization of really your job profiles and everything that's associated with that, and then adding on true career pathing, again, like I said, it's building out a path for their career. Bringing those two things, it really brings more engagement for your employees. They feel engaged in the process. They're not just being assessed. They understand what the assessment is really there for, and they're able to build out a path and engage with your organization in growing that. So that really gives in that engagement opportunity as an employee within the organization. And it's just going to drive more anniversaries for you and your employees. And so just using this data, I mentioned that engagement and that experience, engagement is driving more anniversaries, but it's also about that experience too. It's the experience at work, and it's experience in those jobs. So that employee experience. And those interactions are really going to drive that kind of sense of belonging and purpose, happiness, and that, and then the engagement side where they have the experience, they have the opportunity, but yet they also have the ability to engage, and they have engagement that's happening between what they can do for themselves and how they can communicate and have those conversations with the manager. That gives that sense of real pride and satisfaction for that employee. And that's for sure the kind of employees that I like to have in my team, that they have pride in what they're doing, and they're happy about it. And I think we all know this. If you have a passionate employee, they're definitely going to be, they're less likely to quit. It is what it is. So by having that really high experience and having that real engagement, the stats just show it. They're not going to be that employee that I'm talking to that say, I don't have it. I don't know where I'm going. I don't have any opportunity, no visibility into it. I don't even know what skills that I would need, right? I'm having those conversations with people who are looking to leave their organization. But if you're doing all of these things, they're going to be way less likely to leave and search for a new job outside your organization. if they're searching for a new job, they have the ability and the visibility to search within the organization. And that really, that passion and the passion, the employee passion, you know, it's paying off. You know, it's increasing revenue. You know, you got lower turnover, and don't have that churn of kind of going out there and finding new employees. And they're definitely more likely to be a really high performer and go above and beyond. She just really simply it works. And so having an organization that has that engagement and passionate employees, because they really do, they can see where they are. You know, you've made things very transparent, very visible through building out their job roles. You're hiring the right people. You're assessing based on their real skills. You're allowing them to go in and build out a career path and see what's available to them, to be able to engage with you as an organization, to be able to truly promote from within, and for them to be able to grow their career, truly grow their career, drive their career, and that growth and where they're going. It helps them grow their career, not just the next job. It's not just, okay, what am I going to do next? It's really growing that career path for that employee. And those employees are engaged and excited. And I just love this slide because it's just like, it reminds me of just people just doing the happy dance. So that's kind of where, you know, that's the way I want on my team, right? I want, and in my organization, I want us to be happy and engaged and excited to be here with the organization. And by doing all of these things, that is a phenomenal step in moving forward to doing that through those job competencies and through building out those career paths. So what I want to do now is I want to spend 15 minutes or so and just answer some questions that you might have about some of the content that we've had today. I know I've already been pinged a couple of times, so I know that there's some questions that have popped up from you guys. So want to take a minute. If you give me just a second, I'm going to open up my question box and just look at some of the questions that have already kind of popped up on throughout the webinar. Let's see here. So one of the questions, this really kind of good, relevant. Today, we only focus on career paths or career experiences where there's a vacancy. How can we be more proactive instead of reactive? It's a great question, and I think a lot of companies are doing that today. They're really focusing on, they're vacancy focused, and that's really, really normal. Like I said, if you really have that kind of that competency structure and for all of your job roles, and you really kind of build out all the career paths that are opportunity within the organization, what you're doing then is you're allowing your employees to be focused and see the career paths that are available for all job roles, not just the ones that are vacant. Sure, you're going to want to fill those that are vacant. You can identify those that are maybe critical roles within software. You could do that, right? You could go in and say, these are critical roles, and kind of, so employees know that there is a vacancy and these are kind of critical. So maybe might be more interested. But really, by looking at all of them, then you're really able to see all of those job roles, not just the ones that are vacant today. So employees can be building the career path for themselves. So when you actually do have a real vacancy, if we're a critical position, you already have people who have kind of built out their path and are ready for it. They already have those skills that are ready for that. Let's see. Next question. So how can my organization provide the kind of that horizontal and promotional career path? So that kind of goes back to that lattice approach. When you're building out the career paths, and I mean, you can do this, you can do this through software without, it's a lot easier with the software, but you could when you're building out career paths, don't just think hierarchical, right? Don't just think next level up, what needs to be done next. It's really more about building out career paths, maybe across job families. So looking at those moves that can go to the side and then up, not just building out a ladder approach. That's truly what we recommend and what we help our customers in building out when we talk about career paths. We're looking at what are the opportunities for those roles within the entire organization, not just maybe one job family that you're going up, up, up. So it's really building out that more lattice approach. Next question. What is the easiest way to get started with the career pathing project? So as I was talking, the 1, 2, 3, 4 slide, really that first step is building out your competency library and building out your job roles. That's most certainly that's your starting point. Is really building out that framework. Purchase, you can build or buy, but building out that framework is going to get you started on that career pathing project. You're at least at that point, even if you don't have all the career paths built yet, you're at least give your employees the visibility into seeing what the jobs are within your organization and be able to assess themselves against a job. So kind of that first step, that if you kind of think of a role finder or job finder, if you will, by seeing all of those opportunities, by seeing what their skills are and seeing what just all jobs within their organization, within your organization, then that employee can just assess themselves and see where they are. Maybe you don't have all their career paths built out yet. That's okay. Your first step with just being able to expose that data, right? Let your employees go in and see what those jobs are and how they match to that. And then they can see, okay, I have a skill gap here. Your next step might be adding those learning opportunities so that they can truly close those gaps between the jobs that they want. And then you can start layering on more and more of the career pathing and building all of that out. But really the foundation, quite frankly, is that your talent framework and mapping your job roles to that talent framework. All right, so the next question. Okay, you spoke a lot about the competency framework. How do I get access to the frameworks? And that's a good question. So, I know there's several that we provide that can be imported into the system. As far as all that piece goes, that's kind of outside of my wheelhouse. But if you are interested in learning more about those frameworks, definitely reach out to us. I know someone on our team can answer all the questions that you have, especially maybe specific to your industry or something along those lines. So if you just want to shoot an email over to, I think it's info@talentguard.com. I know someone on our team will be able to reach out and provide more information, especially if it's, like I said, if it's industry specific, they can definitely talk to that and how those frameworks will work within your organization. All right, I think that there's a few more questions, but I don't know that we're going to be able to get to all of those, but we will get back to you guys. I just want to thank you very much for attending the webinar. And if I didn't answer one of your questions or things of that nature, like I said, reach out to info@talentguard.com. Our team is here. They can help you answer those. And again, just our webinar. This webinar is being recorded, and it's going to be available for download on our website within the next 24 hours or so. We have a resource center. There's other webinars out there if you're interested. Take a look. But I want to thank you so much for attending today. I hope this was some good information for you guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.